History, they say, is written by the victors, but in Kenya, it has too often been rewritten by the profiteers. Our chronicles have glorified greed and demonized sacrifice. The heroes who bled for Uhuru were buried twice, first in soil and then in silence. In that silence stood one man, Jaramogi'S Odinga, whose "not yet Uhuru" cried out against betrayal. He watched as power shifted from the people to a privileged class of merchants and politicians who saw government not as a service to all but a spoils system. When Jaramogi refused to bow before corruption and betray the people's liberation struggle, he was cast out. Independence had turned patriots into pariahs. The moral crescendo came with the murder of Pio Gama Pinto in 1965, a martyr of conscience, not convenience. This was the man who forged solidarity between African and Indian nationalists, who smuggled arms and intelligence to Mau Mau freedom fighters. His blood on Kenyan soil was the first warning that freedom without justice is still captivity. And in that moment of national betrayal, a young boy began to understand that Kenya's fight was far from over. In East Germany, Raila Odinga learned precision from engineering and purpose from ideology. He returned home believing that freedom must be built, not begged. His company, East African Spectre, symbolized a dream his father had held: African ownership, industrial self-reliance. But Raila's destiny lay beyond business. He could not watch the promise of Uhuru rot beneath dictatorship. When the drums of dissent sounded in 1982, Raila was arrested, detained without trial, and silenced. In the concrete darkness of Nyayo House, in The Flame of Freedom, he recalls the smell of damp walls, the echo of screams. Yet he wrote, "They locked my body, but not my conviction." Emerging from prison, Raila joined a generation determined to end one-party rule. Together with Kenneth Matiba, Charles Rubia, and George Anyona, he became the drumbeat of Kenya's second liberation, demanding that fear yield to freedom. He built parties, broke coalitions, endured betrayals, yet the goal never changed: to return power to the people. When crisis engulfed the nation in 2008, Raila chose peace over pride. As Prime Minister, he proved that unity is also an act of courage. The 2010 Constitution marked Raila's moral victory. Devolution became the antidote to Nairobi's monopoly. The dream of equality finally found a framework. In 2017, when he challenged for the presidency and the court nullified the election, Raila once again proved that justice can emerge from within the system, not outside it. He refused cynicism. He taught a generation that democracy is not an event, it is a daily discipline. Raila Amolo Odinga's legacy cannot be measured by office. He never ruled, yet he governed the nation's conscience. He lost elections but won history's respect. This video tells the story of two generations united by one unfinished dream: to return power to the people. Where the father fought the betrayal of liberation, the son fought the betrayal of democracy. Jaramogi'S Odinga, the rebel vice president who stood against the betrayal of independence. Raila Amolo Odinga, the son who endured prison, persecution, and electoral defeat to keep his father's dream alive. Both lived for the belief that Kenya belongs to her people, not her elites. Together, they wrote the most persistent footnote in Kenya's political journey: "Not yet Uhuru." In every gathering he addressed, Raila was not just a politician, he was a historian of hope. He never spoke of struggle without reminding us where it began. In every speech, he returned to the words used in the national anthem. He wanted us to remember that the journey of freedom is not about one man's destiny, but one people's duty to finish what our fathers began and to never forget where we are going. Raila Odinga's story is not merely the chronicle of one man's political odyssey, it is the living parable of Kenya's unfinished emancipation. His life stands as a bridge between the dreams of the founding fathers and the demands of the future generation. When history finally strips away the propaganda of dynasties and the polish of privilege, what remains is the clarity of purpose that defined both Jaramogi and Raila, a belief that freedom is not complete until it is shared. Where Jaramogi exposed the moral rot that followed independence, Raila confronted the institutional rot that followed democracy. Where the father fought the betrayal of liberation, the son fought the betrayal of reform. Even in death, Raila's name will not fade, because the struggle he waged was never his alone. It was the people's struggle, the workers' hunger for justice, the farmers' cry for fairness, the youth's impatience with mediocrity, the nation's thirst for dignity. His mission was to return Kenya to its moral equilibrium, to wrestle power from the greedy few and return it to the many who till, teach, heal, and build. In that sense, Raila was not simply his father's heir. He was the executor of a deferred revolution. The flame Jaramogi lit in not yet Uhuru burned brighter through Raila's detentions, through Nyayo House darkness, through storms of betrayal, and through the long march toward a constitutional order anchored in justice. Today, as the nation bows its head to mourn, we must also lift our eyes to remember that the Odinga's dream was never about personalities but principles, never about lineage but liberation. Their struggle challenges us to ask again, have we yet become the free nation our founding fathers envisioned? Until that question is answered, the verdict remains, not yet Uhuru, and the struggle continues. Joey! This is Kenya 2027 Watch, and we interrupted our typical analyses on Kenya's 2027 politics to celebrate the life of a great Kenyan fallen hero, Raila Amolo Odinga. Please subscribe and hit the like button to help us reach more Kenyans and create a larger community. We're here on a serious mission to separate the facts from the propaganda.